there's not much better than making your own drinks. And I'm not just talking about alcoholic drinks here. I'm talking about sodas. So today I was starting to make some root beer and wanted to bring you along. So let's get started. Now, root beer is one of those old-fashioned drinks that actually does have some medicinal value to it. The roots in root beer is a good tonic for springtime. And what better time to start creating my own root beer than here in the spring, or at least how it feels like spring here in South Texas. So I wanted to bring you along on creating my very own root beer. I'm even going to give you my recipe. So shh, don't tell anybody. So here it is. This is my recipe card. So let's go through the ingredients. First off, we have 2 tablespoons of sassafras, 2 tablespoons of sarsaparilla, 2 teaspoons of licorice, 2 teaspoons of burdock root. See, that's what burdock root looks like. They all look the same, don't they? 2 teaspoons of dandelion root. Like I said, looks the same. And then astragalus. Astragalus normally comes in what they call tongues. And that's just slivers of the root. So this is a tongue. And we use about 5 of these tongues in a gallon of root beer. But I'm not making a gallon. I'm making 5 gallons. Of course. Go big or go home. Wait a minute. I am home. I'm going big. So with those roots, you put in a pot and you allow to steep for about 4 hours, and that gets all of the nutrients and the nice flavor out of the roots. Roots take a lot longer to steep than the soft plant material like leaves and flowers. So you always want to steep those longer. And then for a gallon, you need 2 cups of brown sugar. Now, and I've done this many different ways of half and half, brown sugar versus white sugar, or sugar and raw, you know, that type of sugar. I've also made it with sugar, brown sugar and honey. I've made it with honey, you know, all sorts of different ways. And just because I use these ingredients for my root beer doesn't mean that you have to. But like I said, all of these ingredients are good as a tonic, as a detox, a spring detox, and that is why I'm making this. And the reason I'm making such a big batch is part of it I'm actually going to make into a soda, and the other part I'm going to make all the way into a fermented beer, you know, with an alcoholic taste, which actually it is the same process. You just stop the process sooner with a soda and not let it ferment all the sugars into a beer. That's really the only difference between soda and beer. Real soda and real beer. So instead of creating 2 separate batches, you know, so on and so forth, I just made it strong enough to make a 5-gallon batch. I am allowing, I've already have all of my ingredients in my pot, and I have about 4 gallons of water. 5 gallons would be all the way up to the top. So I have 4 gallons of water. So I'm going to let this steep the 4 hours, and then I will be back to put the sugar in, and I'll bring you along. See you then. overnight, and I have just strained it, and I come up with about 3 gallons. And remember, I'm wanting to make 6 gallons, 5 for the bucket for wine, and then 1 for my carboy to make a root beer soda out of. So with that, I have poured about 12 pounds. Yeah, I've poured about 12 pounds of sugar in about 2 gallons of water, and I am allowing it to heat up to be able to dissolve the sugar. All right, I got all my supplies together. I have my 5-gallon bucket right here, just below the camera. I've got my carboy and a funnel. I've even got my yeast and some sugar water starting to activate. And I think I've gotten my sugar, it feels like I've gotten my sugar all dissolved in into the water. Now, my issue is at this point is I don't have a container that is 6 gallons to combine all of this. So I'm going to do a little trick-a-doo, and I'm going to pour about half of it. Or first thing is I've pulled about 1.5 gallons of the root beer. Let me move this to where you can see it. All right, so my root beer is here, and I pulled about 1.5 gallons out, and I've put it aside. And I'm going to take out about half of the sugar water and put it in here, while I take the root beer that I pulled out of the bucket, and I'm going to pour it in here, and I'm just going to mix them together. And that should give about the same ratio throughout, and that should also give the right amount of ratio that I would need for my carboy. And then I can pull my gallon for my carboy, and then my carboy, and then dump the rest of it in my bucket. Does that make sense? Well, I'll take you through it just in case I confused you. So I'll turn off the water heat there. So this is the sugar water that I am putting into half of the root beer. And I put about 2 gallons of water in this pot when I started. So pulling about 1 gallon out will divide it up fairly evenly. And then this is 1.5 gallons of root beer mixture that I pulled out of the bucket. So I will pour it in here. So mixing these two up, and we should have about the same amount of root beer and sugar in each of the containers. Mix that up a little bit. All right, so I have now sugar, water in both, and root beer in both of the containers. And this equals to about 6 gallons. Now, that equaling to 6 gallons, this is a gallon container, so I want to pull 1 gallon out of one of these. It really doesn't matter, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it out of this one because it's just going to be easier for me than trying to reach up and over and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, and this is a 8-cup measuring cup, which is 2 quarts, and 4 quarts equals 1 gallon. You didn't know you were going to get a math lesson today. Fooled you. Now, being that the sugar water was hot and the root beer mixture was cold, I now have lukewarm water, and that's why I'm able to pour it into the carboy right now. If your mixture is hot, be careful not to pour hot liquid in into your room temperature glass. That is a recipe for disaster. That's perfect because I still need to pour in some of the water that has the yeast in it. All right, so now that that is mixed, I can pour this into here, and that should give me just enough for the bucket. Looky there, not a drop. I'm so awesome. Okay, so now I have my activated yeast. It is starting to bubble, so we are doing good. Now I don't want to divide this in half because I have 5 gallons here and 1 gallon here, right? So I actually want just a little bit in here and then the rest in here. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. There we go. And then the rest can go into my 5 gallon bucket. Now the yeast I use is this yeast right here, which is a brewer's yeast, which is mainly for wines, like sparkling wines. And 6 gallons is kind of to the max of how much liquid you want to make per pack. So I might need these to sit a little longer, or I might actually need to add more in the future if things just don't go as fast as I think they should be going. So that's just a little caution to look out for if you are following what I'm doing of making more than 5 gallons at one time. Also, and the reason I am doing 2 different batches, so one is going to be for like a soda, like a root beer soda. So I'm not going to allow it to ferment till complete, because then that would create alcohol, or quite a bit of alcohol in my fermentation. I'm just going to allow this to sit room temperature on the counter until it starts bubbling, and then I will bottle it and put it in the fridge. And with homemade sodas, it's not something that you bottle and then allow to sit like store-bought sodas can sit for months or even years without exploding the bottle. But even putting it in the fridge, you're just slowing down the carbonation, the fermentation, which the fermentation creates carbonation. That's what we're going for in the soda. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is, once you bottle your soda, you leave it out for another day or 2 and then stick it in the fridge and chill it. And then it's ready for a drink, or ready to be drunk. And it's something that you want to drink fairly quickly, within the next month or so. And then what I'm doing with my root beer or root beer wine, because I'm actually making it like a wine, not a beer, because I'm not putting like the barley and the hops and the things like that. Though this will be an alcoholic drink, I will be allowing this to sit for a month, 6 weeks, whatever it takes to stop fermenting. So it'll ferment all the way through until the yeast is done eating all the sugars, which creates the alcohol. And the alcohol content in this, I get 7 to 9% alcohol content in my batches, and that's more than plenty. I'm not looking to get plastered. I am just using it as a preservative for 1, and 2, just as a relaxing drink in the evenings. So what's our next step? Well, with this one, with my wine making, I'm going to close it up with the lid, and you'll notice my lid has a hole in it. So, and that's on purpose. So, I have this right here, which is an airlock. And my airlock, I already put water in it, but what it does, allows the gas to escape out of my alcohol, and then it'll escape up into here, and then that little cap in the middle, that actually moves. So it'll allow the gas to go up and then back into the water and back out. So it goes up and like that. So it won't allow other things to go through the water. The water acts as an airlock. So that's what I'm going to put on, or on my bucket in this hole. And I push it down pretty tight, and it's sucking some of the air because I pushed my lid. Well, anyway. You can see it working, but working in reverse. Anyway, so I've got that for my wine, and then I've got one for the root beer, and then bam. I will put my wine in storage and just check on it every once in a while to make sure in the next couple of days this should start bubbling because of the yeast is creating gases in an air-sealed container. The only way the gas can go out is through my airlock. And then this one I will leave on the table here in the kitchen to where I can monitor it, and as it starts to get going on the fermentation, that's when I will bottle it. So I'll bring you back then. Alright, it's been a few days since I had started this video, and we went through a little cold snap, or I should say a really big cold snap. Several days of intermittent electricity, no electricity at all. The temperature dropped even here in the house. So I need to check and see how my fermentations are going, which really I should have checked that and bottled this before, just before the cold snap, but I had other things on my mind of trying to prepare for this. Here in Texas, we're not necessarily used to having, you know, digits like in the teens. It was definitely very eye-opening for us. But anyway, we survived, and let's see how my alcohols or my fermentations did through the cold. So here is my root beer soda, which I'm really not holding hopes out for because of its color. It should be a darker brown. This almost looks like it has turned sour, but we'll see how it goes. Let's see what we got. It's still quite sugary, but I do taste that bitterness that it has maybe gone bad. Goody, you get to see the clutter underneath my desk. Yeah, just what I wanted to show you. So anyway, here's my root beer. It does seem like it has a darker color than this one. So let's cross our fingers that everything's working out. This even tastes colder, like maybe it stayed colder, which would make the yeast go dormant, which is an issue in itself, but not a catastrophic failure. All right, after tasting this right here, it does not have the bitterness that this one is starting to have. It has the sweetness, and I do taste the rootness in it. So I think this one survived. I just need to let this warm up another day or so because it is still, you know, it's been sitting on the floor, and you know, of course, underneath the house it's been extremely cold, and it's still a 30-degree day today. because we're in kind of round 2, I guess you could say, though not as bad as the first round. But I'll actually get this up off the floor, or probably keep it on the pot that it's actually sitting on at the moment, to allow it to warm up a little bit more, and then I will reactivate some yeast and throw it in there and see what I get. I am so excited that this one is good. I think I'm going to end up needing to throw this one out. I might just sit it out just for a few more days, but it's already started to turn. It's a sour taste, like it's going bad, and probably because this, the vent is like right up here. This has been sitting on this table, less of a mass to heat and cool. So it has been affected differently than the 5 gallons that have been on the floor and in a constant cool state. So there we go. I guess I'm not going to be able to bottle root beer soda at this time, but once this warms up a little bit, I do have enough ingredients to be able to create a root beer soda again, and I'll just do it again. That is one of the benefits of making things on your own, is that you get to create it when and where you want to create it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comment section what you are going to be creating or bottling or would like to in the near future. Did you know that you can maintain your family's health at home with herbs and herbal remedies? That's right. And I have resources for you for just that at bekkasplanet.com. So go check it out. I'll see you there. And until then, get healthy, be happy, and herbal on. Bye.